D-Rock here with another stream. It is Wednesday, November 30th. Tomorrow is December 1st. It's 9:24 a.m. Central Standard Time for watching us live. Crypto market cap sitting at $851 billion. Bitcoin dominance at 38.0%. ETH dominance 18.2%. We can see that the overall crypto space has come up a little bit here in the past 24 hours. Bitcoin sitting right now at 16,833, ETH sitting at 1264, Binance Coin at 298, Dogecoin at 10.4 cents, Cardano 31.4, Matic 87.1, Polkadot 541, pardon the yawn, Chainlink 743, Cosmos 1044. Taking a look at the stock market, we are down roughly 0.6%, or roughly 200 points. Again, I do think we may come down another maybe 100 points, putting us like around down for roughly about 0.8, 0.9% for the day. Maybe we come down to here, right around 33,500, and then tomorrow I think we will rally up to this right shoulder, right around 33,750. Ultimately, Friday with the CPI, or not the CPI data, unemployment numbers, I think that will not spell something good for the market. Um, Taking a look at the 1 hour chart, you can see that Bitcoin is more or less consolidating above this level right around 16,000. 750, 760, all the way up to roughly 16,950. We did wick all the way up to 17,160 roughly here in the past 8 to 12 hours, but it seemed like the bulls have lost momentum as time goes on because they are not able to break higher than 16,930, roughly speaking. Again, I think this is just a short-term rally before we do go lower, where we capitulate a bit more. Um, Taking a look at the 1 minute chart again, we keep retesting these lows right around 16,820, 16,790, 770. So, and we're not too far from that, so just be wary. Taking a look at the daily chart, we can see that we have broken to the upside a little bit. Could this be ultimately a fake out before a shakeout? Only time will tell. Looking at DXY, we are facing some resistance right now at this key level, right around 16,000. Or sorry, 106.835. We're trying to break above this. Again, if this rips to the upside, can't see the stocks and crypto take a beating. So be wary of that. If this breaks to the downside, we will see stocks and crypto rally. Headed over to Twitter for some news. Coinbase is going to be delisting XRP from its wallet app along with Bitcoin Cash and Ethereum Classic. What do you guys make of this? The move is said to be because these assets have very low or very low volume. Kind of interesting. Again, considering XRP is such a hot token for a lot of people. Personally, I don't want anything to do with it, but some people like that token. In other news, 70 million USDT was transferred from Tether Treasury to Bitfinex. El Salvador offers to buy its remaining external debt due between 2023 to 2025. Bitcoin is a winning strategy. Brazilian lawmakers approve bill regulating use of Bitcoin and crypto as payment. The bill recognizes cryptocurrencies as digital representations of value that can be used as a means of payment as an investment asset in a South American nation. It does not make Bitcoin or crypto illegal tender in the country, but this is rather bullish. Again, think about the gravity of the situation. Again, we're talking tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people having access to crypto and Bitcoin, which long term will be rather bullish. Dylan LeClaire says CZ says Binance doesn't leverage against it. Great, but other users do, and Binance subsidizes the financing cost. So the thing that traded with 30-day realized volume of 300 during the bull run suddenly is absent. Downside volume. Interesting. New paradigm indeed. So basically, Dylan LeClaire's talking about the BNB token. He's saying maybe he's a pessimist, but all he sees is a lot of hot air. 9x out of BNB in 2 months during the bull run with barely a retrace. A 10x against Bitcoin since 2021 must be a new paradigm. He's the bears are saying, "Oh, you don't understand. BNB has so much utility in the Binance ecosystem. You get discounted fees and it's native asset for rug pulls on Binance Smart Chain. It's going up forever, and a $50 billion market cap. It's a steal. It's different than all the other vaporware exchange tokens. I'm sure it was retail that sent BNB 10x in 2 months. Same with FTT, right? It definitely wasn't the exchange operator with an incentive to drive up the price of their own token or create a feedback loop of attention, hype, and more users. Definitely not. Yeah. I'm not too bullish on Binance Coin. I did say I was going to buy some right around $50 to $100 if it ever went that low. I have rehypothecated my analysis, or basically, um, how do I put this? I've basically changed um, how I view these cryptos. Like um, I think a lot of the crypto in the space is just hot air, as he says with BNB. This clip's for later in the stream. I don't know why it was put here. Sorry about that. Basically, I don't really believe in too many things in the crypto space besides Bitcoin. I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist just yet, but I'm getting pretty damn close. In other news, sorry, that was kind of a tangent. Exactly 5 years ago, John McAfee doubles down on the most insane Bitcoin bet of all time. He says when he predicted Bitcoin at 500,000 by the end of 2020. It used a model that predicted 5,000 at the end of 2017. Bitcoin has accelerated much faster than my model assumptions. Now predict Bitcoin at $1 million by the end of 2020. I will still eat my dick if wrong. European Central Bank saying Bitcoin price stabilization is artificially induced last gasp before it embarks on a total road to relevance. And it's like, no, you are the thing that's going to become irrelevant as time goes on, referring to the European Central Bank. Suppose they have a Fed meeting today. Could see some volatility out of Bitcoin and stocks as a result, with whatever Jerome Powell and the rest of the Federal Reserve has to say. Breaking, former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried has admitted to Tiffany Fong per Cointelegraph to reopening withdrawals for local Bahamian citizens without authorization, as he didn't want to be in a country with a lot of angry people in it. Well, why don't you prevent yourself from effing up to begin with and making shady business deals? I think you'd save everyone a lot of headaches. From the administration that hasn't even acknowledged the massive fraud committed by the second largest donor to the Democratic Party. Now we have Joe Biden basically saying Twitter is something that they will be keeping their eyes on. Why is that? After the recent Elon Musk acquisition of Twitter, it's awkward for Biden to support COVID protesters in China because there's nothing happening in China right now that Biden wouldn't do himself. He could get away with it. Biden forced millions to take a vaccine and wear masks just to keep their jobs or travel freely. And we have an article saying why the U.S. is so tepid in response to China's COVID protest. Concerns about inflation, supply chain issues are more important to the U.S. Yeah. It's weird. I mean, we've seen a lot of Western leaders suddenly out of nowhere care for protests happening in foreign nations. I think it's because more or less the paradigm is that um, that Russia and China are more or less the two big baddies. And so if people in their countries are protesting, citizens there are doing something right. But since we're the good guys, if you're protesting in our countries, you're a bad guy. I hate to like break it down to those layman terms, but I think that's more or less how these politicians view things. Uh, Police in China fire on unarmed civilians protesting harsh COVID lockdowns. Oh wait, that's Melbourne. Yeah, see, like, look at this insanity. So you got Pepe, police line, ready to once again engage. Like, and it's all for your safety, you know. Here we have uh, Canadian police being called in. Trudeau is calling on the Chinese government to respect the protesters and listen to them. Reminder: Trudeau detained protesters without trial, sent in armed police, and then froze their bank accounts. Just saying, yeah, there's literally footage. Look at this. They're like beating a protester. Footage there's footage of a horse trampling um an old lady. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, crazy stuff. And again, it's all for your safety. Just remember that these people don't want to hurt you, they want to keep you safe. Disgusting. And the sad thing is the leaders of these nations want to act like they're they're a million times better than China when they're committing some of the same atrocities. It's like, wake up. Here we have huge crowds arriving by bus to an isolation camp in the city of Guangzhou. This is all for your health. What is the point with isolation rooms after they all mingle like this? Why not just keep them all in the same room together? Maybe it's not really about a virus. Yeah, as we just went over yesterday, it looks like a jail cell, prison cell. These rooms, these quarantine rooms that these people are being placed in because they're sick. Um, Here we have Justin Trudeau being a hypocrite, saying back in on February 11th of this year, if you join the protest because you're tired of COVID, you need to understand that you're breaking the law. Now he's saying everyone in China should be allowed to protest. We will continue to ensure that China knows we will stand for human rights and with people who are expressing themselves. Did a full 180. I thought I'd share that. This guy went in taking a photo with him and Trudeau, and then he said communist FUCK. uh, Here we have a U.S. lawmaker signing an executive order that bans the Chinese social media platform TikTok for state government agencies, employees, and contractors using state devices. This is over in South Dakota. She says South Dakota will have no part in the intelligence gathering operations of the Chinese Communist Party. If you guys were unaware, if you do have the TikTok app downloaded on your phone, it is essentially being used by the Chinese Communist Party intelligence gathering operation. So if you still have that app on your phone, you might want to delete it. It's definitely giving away your data and providing the CCP, Chinese Communist Party, with some free information on yourself. So might want to delete that app if you still got it. We also discussed yesterday how Apple's on the side of the Chinese police state and against oppressed people seeking freedom. We talked about how they were limiting iPhone file sharing tool used for protests over in China, which is the feature called AirDrop. Essentially, Chinese citizens were sharing footage and pictures of brutality with one another, trying to get the word out via the Apple iPhone's feature called AirDrop. And apparently, Apple rolled out a recent update that basically limits the ability to share certain files and such. Um, I don't think they limited the feature entirely, but it's pretty interesting timing, is to say the least. So is Apple really embedded with the CCP? I don't know. I think things definitely point towards that. If it quacks like a duck, walks like a duck, you know, probably is a duck. Here we have CCP COVID troops known as Big Whites are launching a raid in Guangzhou. Again, just more insanity from this totalitarian, authoritarian, tyrannical government known as the CCP. Tucker Carlson saying Xi Jinping sent tanks into major city last night in order to put down protests. Virtually no American media outlets even acknowledge that happened. Could it be that the American news media is covering for the government of China? I think the reason why they're not covering that is because people will connect the dots and realize, oh shit, where have we seen this before? Weren't there tanks and military vehicles in France just earlier this year? You know, to basically what is it? Stomp out protests occurring in France. I don't know if you guys saw that, but there was like think BTT tanks or whatever they're called. But yeah, basically military grade uh, vehicles were on the streets of Paris and other cities that had large protests in opposition to the mandates, the vaccines, and such. I think they were worried that if they cover that story, then people here in the Western world will be like, "Oh wait, maybe our governments aren't that different, you know." Google showcases new interventions informed by behavioral science to build resilience to online harms. One approach is pre-bunking misinformation to immunize users. Yeah, just a reminder: Google is not your friend, you guys. They have been complicit in the massive censorship campaign that we've seen, not only with COVID, but previous elections and such. They've been privy to it. They've been complicit in doing their part, and it looks like they're taking the next step. You know, they're gonna pre-bunk misinformation to immunize users. Um, I don't know anything like promoted or marketed as, oh well, it's for your safety. Let's be real, guys. It's not for safety. I had no idea this was a recurring segment on Colbert. Again, this is kind of more or less what Google's all about. They're more or less behind this stuff, but they'll tell you that, oh well, the adverse reactions, it's one in a million. It's super small percentage of people get these reactions. They were behind the campaign that you're an anti-vaxxer, you're anti-science if you don't get these jabs, etc. Oh, just do your part, or you're gonna lose your job. You can't go to the bar, club, music venue unless you show us your papers. Again, they were essentially um, that's essentially fascism, you guys. If you didn't know, because the state and corporations, big pharma, were all colluding to basically make your life harder and make you follow their edicts and rules. That's fascism. Less than 24 hours apart. Here we have Vice President Kamala Harris saying one shot once a year. That's all most people will need to stay protected from COVID year long. Make a plan to get your shot at vaccines.gov. Not even a day later, Secretary Xavier Becerra says an updated COVID vaccine can help protect you from the worst outcomes of COVID. If it's been over 2 months since your last dose, make a plan to get one now. Mixed messaging there, huh? We had the VP saying one shot will protect you for a full year. Meanwhile, you have the secretary saying, no, only 2 months. Mixed messaging. Here we have Dr. Masanori Fukushima, professor emeritus at Kyoto University, warns about vax harms to the Japanese Ministry of Health. You're ignoring science. It's a disaster. You spend billions on the vaccine, force people to inject it. Due to the vax, natural immunity has been suppressed. And it's true. Um, Not too long ago, we were being told that natural immunity is not a thing with COVID. If you catch COVID, you still have to get the vaccine because you don't have natural immunity. At least that's what they told us. But I love that the truth's just coming out, you guys. We're realizing that many of our own leaders are not much better than the leaders our leaders are condemning or are going after. For example, Mr. Putin over in Russia and Xi Jinping over in China. That's not to say I'd rather have them as my leader. I'm not saying that whatsoever, but they are all one and the same in many ways. Retweet if you think lockdowns did more harm than good. I certainly do, so that's why I had to retweet that. People who think you should be able to own guns. Let's take a look at history. Washington, Jefferson, James Madison, Abraham Lincoln, Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., and the people who claim you don't need guns include King George III, Hitler, Stalin, Mao Zedong, Kim Jong Il, Barack Obama. The list goes on. Joe Biden too. He's going after semi-automatic rifles or pistols, I believe, something like that. He talked about that the other day, and it's like, okay, when are people gonna be like, this is enough? That's the real question. And just to remind you, the same people they're telling you that the protests in China are 100%, it's for the people, blah blah blah. But people here, you just shut up, just listen to the government, don't protest. These same people are acting blind and like they don't see the insider trading by the members in their Congress. Uh, they also act like they don't see that SBF's getting away with billions of dollars in his FTX Ponzi scheme. Meanwhile, they're really, really zooming in on your $600 Venmo transaction. It's They have their priorities in the wrong place. IRS has warned Americans that they must report payments on Venmo, PayPal, and Zelle over $600. $600 threshold includes part-time work, side gigs, and selling goods. Wasn't the plan to go after billionaires? Yeah, that's how they duped you. Again, some of these same people associated with Hillary Clinton. Well, have you seen Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, John Podesta's artwork? This kind of going off of the Balenciaga scandal with the bears in bondage, with children being um, in the pictures and such. Why do so many powerful people in powerful positions act like peds? I'm just going to call them that. And why are these people more interested in promoting trans rights instead of children's rights? Yeah, is there a secret agenda? This is just some of the artwork that John Podesta owns. He is the campaign manager of Hillary Clinton. Not a good look, sir. Judith Rose, freelance writer, says, okay, I don't even want to post a link to this article. Probably the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. This is what high society views as an art. Every single one of them should be deeply investigated. CEO of Balenciaga, parent company, owns auction site that sells child S3X dolls or mannequins with genitalia for faces. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to do. I don't want to do this research, but I'll look a little bit more into this. But Balenciaga, if you didn't know, they also had a misprint on the yellow tape in the recent photo shoot. Balenciaga had two A's after the B instead of one, and if you look up BAL, he's supposedly a god that people would sacrifice children to. For them to make such a mistake like that on top of the bears in bondage that are being held by little children, not to mention you have documents, little literal papers involving, I believe, other ped, um, what's it called? What's it called? Cases um, that was, I guess, taken to court or something like that. But very, very weird from Balenciaga. Again, are they, do they have ties to the Clintons, John Podesta's artwork? I don't know, but something's going on. Eurozone inflation falls to 10% from 10.6%, the first drop in 17 months. Yeah, imagine being happy that inflation is at 10%, just because it's a little lower than it was last month. Just let that sink in. Breaking news: CEO of British gas owner Centrica is warning that more energy suppliers could go bust this winter with millions of pounds of taxpayer cash on their balance sheets. Keep in mind the UK Treasury is paying to Bank of England to cover QE losses, or quantitative easing losses. Things are getting wild. German state of North Rhine-Westphalia declares financial emergency due to energy crisis. Could this mean potentially some more money printing occurring? Time will tell. Germany is burning a lot of coal, about 45% of all electricity generation, as wind stops blowing. Its electricity carbon intensity jumped to a crazy 745 grams CO2 grams per kilowatt this evening, higher than in South Africa and India. Closing nuclear matters. Again, kind of interesting. The reason why this person had this was because, uh, if you recall, Donald Trump, whether you like him or not, he called out Germany and said, well, if you turn down your nuclear reactors, your nuclear power plants, you're going to be entirely dependent on Russia for oil. And they laughed in his face, and I guess Trump's probably laughing now. White House energy advisor Hochstein says we are still going to have oil demand for the next several years. This will give U.S. oil companies time to increase production. This person says you're going to need a bigger honk. Canadian Central Bank reporting today historic $522 million loss in the third quarter. This is their first loss ever. They own zero gold. European Central Bank warned today of losses. Reality sometimes hurts. And this kind of hits home because there was a meme the other day that showed all the names of the big banks, and then Bitcoin was at the table, and it's like Bitcoin is winning. Look at what's happening to the central banks, you guys. They're realizing losses because of all the quantitative easing that they did. Yeah, well, they're paying the price now for not tightening the belt sooner. Russia and China are developing a system of settlements which could allow cross-border transactions without using the Western financial messaging system. We now have Africa's second largest gold producer planning to pay for oil with gold as central bank stockpile. Interesting. Are you paying attention to what's going on? Things are changing before our very eyes. Alliances are being drawn. Kramer said he's expecting CrowdStrike to report strong earnings. Not quite, and says inverse Kramer ETF. As you can see, this CrowdStrike holdings dropped roughly 19 to 20% in the after hours. So again, just remember, do opposite of what Jim Cramer does or says. Elon Musk saying the Fed needs to cut interest rates immediately. Hate to break it to you, Elon Musk. I don't think it's going to happen this year or next year. Maybe in 2024. I think they will start cutting, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe instead of a recession, we're going into depression, which means a much more painful and lengthy endeavor ahead of us. But who knows? Not financial advice, but Will markets hold for the next few days? Or are we going to see a slump in the market the next 2 days? I'm leaning on the latter, but let me know what you guys think down below. If you guys enjoyed the content in today's videos, please, and today's stream/video, please like and subscribe. Hit notification bell to be notified when we go live next. I will see you all tomorrow, 9:15 a.m. Central Standard Time. Until then, you guys, I hope you all take care